Good evening, everyone. I'm Kathleen Podrosky. For those of you who might not know me, I'm a supervisor at VTA's Community Outreach and Public Engagement Group. And I want to thank you for attending this evening's Eastridge to BART Stakeholder Working Group meeting. And thank you to all the Stakeholder Working Group members that were able to make it this evening. I really appreciate your understanding and flexibility with the rescheduling of this evening's meeting. It was a last-minute rescheduling last month. It was originally planned to be held on May 27th. It's been a very difficult month for VTA staff and for a lot of the community members. The tragic incident that occurred a month ago at VTA's light rail division, which took the lives of 9 VTA employees, has broken our hearts. And the VTA community is still reeling from this. I don't have the words to convey the immense pain we are still feeling right now, and I'm here to express our condolences to all of you as well, who had the privilege to know any of the victims. I know Craig worked with all of them before he retired. And we all share with you the deep grief together. So before we move forward this evening in honor of our colleagues, if we could please take a few moments of silence. Thank you. We're challenged to balance our grief with the need to move forward on our projects and share information with you. And this evening, we are moving forward with the Stakeholder Working Group meeting. We have PG&E in the field now and more utility relocation activities to come, which is the focus of our discussion this evening. There will be opportunities throughout the presentation to ask questions, and we respectfully ask that you ask your questions to remain focused, that your questions this evening are focused on the topic of the presentation and the light rail extension, the project this evening. Any questions that you might have about our current VTA service need to be referred to our VTA customer service. We, the project team that are present this evening, do not have the answers to our current status of our service and our operations. Our customer service contact information will be provided on the final slide for you. It's also front and center if you go to vta.org. Okay, next slide. Okay. Check. I'm gonna just change my view a little bit so I can see this better. Thank you. Okay, so our meeting agenda is standard. It's following our previous meetings, and I can't believe it's been since February. Feels like it's almost 6 months, it feels that way. So we'll do a quick roll call and do a quick update with everyone that's here this evening. Brief review of the February minutes and an outreach or community outreach update. I grayed out the future of the Reed-Hillview Airport. We originally had that on this evening's agenda, and unfortunately, we were not able to confirm a speaker or presenter from the county to give an update on that. So we'll table that maybe for November. And then we'll do what it's standard to give you guys a project status update. And then we're going to focus on the utility relocations. And then we'll open it up for discussion and then wrap it up. I suspect this evening we're going to end by 8, if not earlier, make up for the last couple of meetings. Next slide, please. Thank you. As usual, this webinar is being recorded. All your microphones are on mute. All the panelists, you are able to unmute yourselves. Please raise your hand when you want to speak. We will take time to stop for questions. And for the audience, we will also take questions from the audience. You will be able to raise your hand. You have the option on the bottom of your screen to just click on that little raise hand option. Next screen, please. Our meeting code of conduct remains the same, and it has worked very well, but we always like to treat each other with kindness and respect, be open to each other's ideas, and just don't want to be critical of each other. This is a tough project sometimes to discuss. It has a lot of impacts to the community, and we're working through all of that. And so, okay, next slide, please. We'll do a quick roll call. And I'm just going to go down the list. Sometimes I like to mix it up, but we'll just make this easier this evening. And then if you have any updates that you want to share, this is a great time to do that. And you'll, well, go ahead. You can unmute yourselves. It looks like you have the power to, yeah, you do. Okay, so I'll start with Ernesto. Do you know how to unmute yourself, Ernesto? I think you might be on your phone. I know you're here. Okay, I'll come back to you when I see you're unmuted. Sandy, are you here tonight? I don't see you. Okay, we'll come back. Julie, I know you're here. Are you still driving?
I'm here.
Okay. Did you have any updates you wanted to share?
No.
Okay. Laura, are you here? I don't see you. Okay, I don't see Laura. Jeremy, I see you.
Hi, present.
Okay, anything you'd like to share this evening?
No, I mean, we brought up the BART to Eastridge light rail issue at the last couple District 8 community roundtable meetings. A lot of members engaged about the issue, but we'll continue to share updates as they become available. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Craig, I don't think he's here this evening. Okay. Andreas, how are you?
Good, thank you. Present.
Okay. And Jessica had her staffing thing, so she's not going to make it. And John, hi, good evening.
Good evening. Good to see everybody again.
Thank you. And Ernesto, were you able to unmute yourself, or did you want to speak? Okay, well, he's here. Okay, we'll go on to the next slide. And just real quick, so you all remember who we are, and for the attendees who might not know us all, I'm Kathleen. And David, if you want to introduce yourself real quickly.
Sorry, hello, I had to find my mute unmute button. David Lovato, Public Communications Specialist, here to assist Kathleen on this project.
Great, thank you.
Ben Prasad, the project manager.
Great, thank you. Ken.
Hi, Ken Ronci with VTA. I'm on the engineering and construction side. Hi to everybody, especially you, John. Long time no see. Hope you're doing good.
And Zia.
Hi. Are you skipping me?
Oh, I thought you were driving, so I was for safety.
Okay, I can talk.
Yes. No,
Hi, this
Hassan?
is Hassan. Yes. Hi, this is Hassan Basma, transportation engineer. I'm helping out Ken on this project and Ben on this project.
Ziad.
Hi, this is Ziad Dweri. I'm with VTA. I'm also engineering support for this project.
Thank you. Alrighty. Next slide, please. Alrighty, so quick review. I know I sent the minutes to you like weeks ago, so to refresh you from the February meeting, we had a discussion about the tree removal and mitigation, and that we were sharing, what we shared with you is that we're working with our city forests to plant trees as near the corridor as possible. We're planting more than we're removing, and we do have a little progress today that we can share with everyone. And Ken, did you want to share that now?
Sure. Yeah. When we met last time, rightfully so, there was a lot of concern that we would do two things. One is keep as many trees as possible. And then second would be make sure that we put them within the corridor. So what we did is immediately after meeting with you and then the board meeting that had the environmental document approval, we did meet with stakeholders from the county and our city forest and have concluded that we will be able to place trees well within 1 mile swath of the corridor, likely within 1/2 mile. And so that's good news. They will be concentrated in the corridor. Van and his team has also spent a lot of energy evaluating locations in our work area where we can keep trees or put trees. And so there is a number of trees that will be by the project in our area, and then other trees by the project that'll be put in by our city forest in the surrounding area. The good news about that is the mitigation will be more trees included than taken out, and that there is a list that our city forest has of locations that are in dire need of trees. And so the beauty here is that we will be able to put trees close to the corridor, if not on the corridor, and they'll be in areas that have great need. And so we will continue to take seriously the feedback we got from you. That is, we like trees, we want them in important areas, we want them in this area, if not on the corridor, nearby, and we are able and committed to do that.
Thank you, Ken. Okay, we also talked about the construction schedule, and Ken provided a lot of detail on the project funding, including the status of the Regional Measure 3, and how the funding for construction is on hold pending the California Supreme Court hearing, which is expected in early 2022. I don't believe we have any status change on that at this time. We discussed the Ocala field meeting. When I was emailing you about the May meeting, the meeting that we were supposed to hold in May, my intent was to get out there before the June Policy Advisory Board meeting, which was supposed to be held on June 16th. That had been canceled. So what I'm looking at now is to hold the Ocala field meeting after July 19th, before the August, what date are we meeting in August? 26th, August 26th meeting. So somewhere in there. So I'm gonna follow up with you guys after this meeting. I did once before to see who, raise your hand if you wanna be a part of that. I didn't get any takers. I know for sure 2 folks who really wanna be on that. So I'll try again and maybe do a doodle or something, how to, or just pick a date and say, okay, guys, meet us out there. But we'll do it before the August meeting, because I do want to keep this meeting back on schedule, and we'll get that scheduled. But everything that happened at our light rail yard, it is thrown us off all of our schedules. So we'll get that back on. And then the other thing that we discussed in February is we had a really thorough overview of the structure construction, so that everyone understands, how it illustrated all the space requirements that we need to build the project, and how it impacts the traffic and the noise. And, and what we're hoping is that what we shared with you is understandable, because this is what we want to share going forward with the community. So, we want your feedback. Make sure that it's comprehensible, not too technical. So, definitely, keep feeding us information as we feed you information, please. So does anyone have anything they would like to share now before I go on? I don't see any hands raised. Okay, next slide. Okie doke. So, okay, so I got ahead of myself. I do this. I already talked about the Ocala field visit. I thought I wrote the date down. I did. That was on this slide. So we're going to go into a lot more on the utility work, but right now we are coordinating. So the way it's working right now with the utilities, they get their permits from the city of San Jose, and on their permits, they are actually responsible for their outreach. And on their outreach, they have to notify folks, residents, businesses, schools within 300 feet of their area. And I'm supplementing their outreach. So they do their notification within 300 feet. I take their notices and then I expand it. And so, for example, the work that's happening right now around Capitol, They did their notification. I took that notification and then I went through and I did Nextdoor. They can't do Nextdoor. I can. And I also sent it through our stakeholder list, which I'll talk about in a second. And so that's how we're kind of tag teaming it. And which brings me to the stakeholder list. I realize I talk about that a lot and I tell people, go to the website, sign up for subscriber updates. And it occurred to me, maybe you need to see what that looks like. So here's a screenshot. And when you go to the project webpage, which is the vta.org Eastridge to BART, and I always tell people, you know, scroll to the bottom if it's on your phone, or scroll to the bottom on the right-hand side on your, if you're on a computer screen. This is what it looks like. And so you would just enter your email address and hit subscribe. And from that window, you can subscribe to any of our projects, or you can subscribe for notices for any of our policy advisory board meetings. And the other one I would suggest is the, and it's right here on the slide, the Eastridge to BART Regional Connector Policy Advisory Board. I would subscribe to that one as well, so you always get notifications about those meetings and all their agendas and minutes. For the, and Ben's going to go into a lot more detail about this. When PG&E starts the work on the transmission lines, those are the poles that are going to be replaced, from the lattice towers to the poles. That's going to be a lot more intensive work. And so I don't, that 300 feet and targeted noticing is not going to fly. I'm going to do a mailing for that one. I'll do a full quarter mailing. So I just wanted to mention that one to you. And then if you can go to the next page or next slide, please, David. This one, this is something else I talk about on the webpage. These are the accordions on the project webpage. And I've talked about this. There's a link for the stakeholder working group. And because this is a snapshot, I can't open it for you. But when you click on the plus signs, it opens up everything I have for the stakeholder working group. It's where you can find information on links to the Zoom meetings, the recordings. So after this meeting tomorrow, we'll link this to, we'll link it to YouTube. And so I've got it'll have this meeting and the previous meetings up there. Documents that we've shared with you, like the PG&E Green Book that explained why we had to remove the trees. Also, the construction notices that every time I put out a notice, we put them there as well. On that right-hand margin, it's duplicative. It's a little repetitive, but I also feel like I want to make it easy to find. And sometimes the way our website, it's not always intuitive. And so I want to make it as easy as possible for folks. On that right-hand margin, it's also where you can find notices. Same with the environmental documents. Where I have it in, where you can, if you click on the plus sign, I have them labeled, I have them set up by the date, starting with the most recent all the way down to when they first started coming out. Where on our environmental documents, they're by type. And so sometimes you might not know what document you're looking for, but you know it came out in 2018. So you have two different ways of getting to it. And I just thought it would be good for you to see what it looked like. If I could do a full screenshot, below all of that is the timeline. I skipped that part for this one. Okay, next page. And I think this goes on to Ven, and I think Ven wants to, we're gonna, if you can bear with us for a moment, we're gonna switch who's sharing screens. Ven wants to be able to share his screen so he can use his cursor and point things out.
Yeah, thank you, Kathleen.
And while we wait for that, we'll stop here, any questions? I don't see any hands. I'll go to the audience real quick. Any questions from the audience? Going once, going twice. Okay, take it away then.
Okay, so give me 1 second here. Okay, can you see the screen?
You're good.
So, okay, all right. Good evening. Hello again, Ven Prasad, project manager. Today I'm going to give you an update on the project, where we are on the status, and also I'm going to provide some more information on our planned utility relocation for the project. So with that, so the project is progressing very well. We still are working on some of the real estate items. And one of them is the Valley Water property acquisition. Good news is we recently closed the acquisition of this, and it's available now for us to relocate the transmission line. This is one of the properties we needed to relocate the transmission line pole. One of them would be in the Valley Water property. We continue our negotiations with Pacific Bowie. This is one of the properties at the corner of Tully and Capital Expressway. And we are very confident that we're going to be very soon we'll be closing the negotiations on that. The discussions with FAA continues. This is for a very small piece of property we need right next to, it's right next to the airport, corner of Tully and Capital Expressway. This is on the west side. We need an aerial easement from the county. The county owns the property, but FAA has the control on that. So we have to get a release from FAA. So that's continuing. On the engineering, design is progressing very well. And we're working on completing the final bid documents. So we have, it's a big contract documents. We have over 2,000 sheets of engineering plans, and I think probably more than 4,000 pages of specifications. So that's getting ready. And the next is we're going to be reviewing the submittal that we have received on the engineering. So for construction, I think we previously had mentioned about an advanced minor contract construction. Most of the work has been complete. The work is concentrated around Capitol Avenue and Capital Expressway area, and also Capitol Avenue and Story. The purpose of this minor advanced construction was just to make sure that all the utility facilities are relocated. We have enough room for the utility facilities like the boxes and everything to be relocated outside of the project area. So that's almost complete. We have one small building to be demolished, and that is, I'm going to go to the next slide here. Let's see, I'll show you. So there's a small building at the northwest corner of Story and Capital Expressway that has to be demolished. But before we can do, we have to remove all the hazardous materials that are in the building, like asbestos and lead needs to be removed. So that work is complete. The next step is for us to remove the building after all the utilities are cut off. So we just have one more utility to be cut off, and then we can proceed with the demolition. So we are expecting this work to happen sometime in August. So go to the next slide. So I'm going to give you, like I mentioned earlier, some information about what is needed on the utility relocation side for this project. So I think we can classify this as two categories here. One is underground utilities. The other one is overhead utilities. So on the underground utilities, we have the gas, electric, communication, and water. So these are the four utilities we need to relocate. All this needs to be done so that in the middle of Capital Expressway, we have room to build the project. Let's say, we're building the bridge, the foundations. We want to do the foundations down in the ground, but we have these utilities there. For example, water line is right in the place where our foundation is going for the bridge construction. So we want to move it away from the foundation area. So that's one of the examples I'm giving you. So that's why we need to move these all these utilities. So the second one, which I call as overhead utilities, is the electrical transmission line. So this is an overhead wire that is in the way of our project. I will show you the layout of this overhead wire relocation so that you have a better understanding of the layout of the transmission line. So we are getting city and county permits for this work, and all the work is performed with approved traffic control. So we want to make sure that it's thoroughly vetted, the type of work they're doing and when they can do this work, what kind of lane they can close. Is it one lane or just a shoulder of the expressway, just to make sure that there are minimal impacts when the utility relocation happens. So here is an overview of where the relocation work is going to happen. On the left side, that is the north end of the project near Capitol Avenue and Capitol Expressway. And then on the right is the south end near East Ridge. So as you can see, all the red oval marks you see, that is all the underground utility work that's going to be happening there. This is near Capitol Avenue and Capitol Expressway. We have several utilities there. I'm going to go to the next slide to show you what kind of work we are planning to do. It is PG&E's electric, gas, communications from Comcast and other utilities. So there's a lot of work needs to be done because there's quite a bit of infrastructure there that has to be cleared so that we can build the project in the middle of the expressway. So the red represents the underground relocation and the blue represents the overhead transmission line relocation. So as you can see, the transmission line limits are from Quinby to just north of Cunningham. So it's just about half of the project is being affected. And the underground work you'll see at several intersections, one at Capitol Avenue, one at Story Road, and one at Tully intersection. So these are photos from a previous construction project. That gives you an idea on what to expect during this work. So these are the photos we collected from previous projects. Like I said, just you'll expect to see this kind of work happening on the expressway when the relocation work starts. So on the first photo you see here is this is typically how the trenching looks. The first thing is for them to trench and then then place the conduits. It could be conduits or pipe, for water line, and for gas line, they have to place pipes. For communications, it's going to be probably conduit, and also for electric, it is these are electrical conduits that they would be placing underground in the trench. One of the things we have asked the companies to do is to share the trench, and we call that as a joint trench. So in a joint trench, it's going to be one trench, and many of the utilities will be sharing that location so that they don't have to trench at various locations. It's less impact to the people using the expressway. So the second photo here is typical how the conduits are placed. The third one is the boxes and walls. Typically you'll see these kind of boxes being placed. These are concrete boxes. A good example would be one of the minor construction work we did was to provide room for these kind of PG&E boxes to go in. And the orange conduit you see on the fourth slide down below are typical conduits that are used for communications. So steel plates will be used to protect the trench and for safety. Sometimes, they have to cover the trench. They wouldn't have they would not have completed the work. They have to, cover it with the plate and make sure, there are no potholes or anything. Once the trench is excavated and then the conduits or the pipes are in, so the next step is for them to backfill. So the backfill will be, either they would use the soil or sometimes they use a concrete. And then on the top, it will be topped with asphalt to match the surrounding paving. So these are the last two photos are related to trenching, backfilling the trench, and paving. So here is a location close to Capitol Avenue and Capitol Expressway. What you see here, these are color-coded utilities that are going to be working in this area. The blue is San Jose Water Company. And if you can see that, there's a little bit of work near Westboro and Capitol Avenue. There is PG&E electric work happening. As you can see, these are all, the yellow lines are all related to PG&E electric. So you will see that, I don't know if you can see my cursor, but this is the alignment. This is right in the middle of Capitol Avenue is where the track work is going to be happening. So hence we have to relocate all the utilities to the outside of this work. And sometimes, we also protect, the existing utility with some kind of a casing so that it's protected from, weight. And also that also happens at certain locations. The green is communications by AT&T and Comcast. You'll see that those are all in this area. So this work is going to be happening in another 2-3 months. So gas work is already complete and in this area. So the city, this is all within the city limits. The utility companies got their permits to work here, and the underground gas work has been complete in this area. So this is the second area. This is the work happening at Story and Capitol Expressway. If you can see the middle, that's the blue line. That the blue line is where the existing water line is. The existing water line is right where our foundations for the bridge go. So hence we have to move this away from the foundation for the bridge, and hence we have to do this relocation. There's an 8-inch and a 12-inch line, water line that requires to be relocated. The blue is San Jose Water Company's water line. The yellow is PG&E's electric work. This is where we expect PG&E electric and communication companies to share a trench. We call it as a joint trench. The joint trench minimizes, trenching at various locations. So for more efficiency, so we are working with the companies to make sure that they maximize sharing the utilities in a single trench. The orange is the location where the gas lines are being relocated. So this is, like I said, at the intersection of Story and Capitol Expressway.
Ben, let's pause for a second and just check in. Does anyone have any questions? Just wanted to give everyone a quick chance. Okay, I don't see any hands coming up yet. And I'm looking on the computer. I'm not looking at your pictures yet, in case anyone's actually raising a physical hand here. Okay, thank you, Ben. Go ahead.
So do you see the slide here? Okay. So the underground utility relocation at Tully Road, consists of relocating MCI and PG&E Electric, and there's also a joint trench plan with AT&T. So this is the one that's happening on the northwest corner of Tully and Capital Expressway. Okay, so now I'm going to switch over to the overhead electrical transmission line work. So this is the one Kathleen had mentioned earlier. This work, the project limits for this for transmission line is between Quinby and Cunningham Avenue. Just to give you a general idea on what is involved for relocation of transmission line, yellow line you see is where the rail tracks will be located, especially to the south of, from south of Cunningham. So you'll see, and that's where we have a conflict. So that yellow is being shifted to the east side, and you see the purple line. You see the purple line on the east side of Capital Expressway is the new alignment. That's where the overhead transmission line is going. Just for information, it's a pretty big transmission line. It's a 115 kilovolt line, majority of the work is done at night to avoid traffic. So which is good news. County and PG&E and VTA, we were able to work out a time that works, that minimizes the impact to the traffic. So majority of the work will be done at night between 8 p.m. and 4 a.m. or 5 p.m. at the most. The transmission line work itself, you may have noticed there are two photos down below, the two photos. These are very common. These are the transmission towers, we call it. There are two kinds. One is the lattice tower on the left, and then the right side, we call it as tubular steel pole towers or poles. Like I'd mentioned, from median to the east side is where the transmission line relocation is going to happen. Like I mentioned earlier, it's between Quinby and Ocala Avenue, and majority of the work is done at night. I want to go through quickly the steps involved in building this transmission line, relocating the transmission line here. The first step is, to build a pole, build a foundation for the pole. The second is, placing the new poles and hanging the new wire and removing the existing towers. So there are towers in the middle of Capital Expressway. Those have to be removed for the project. Let me go to the next slide here. This gives you an idea of various stages of relocation of the transmission line. So these are schematics, pictures, how typical equipment looks for doing this kind of a work. The first one, for foundation work, they'll be using some kind of a drilling auger. So what it does is it drills the foundation, the hole for the foundation, and these are roughly about 40 feet or so deep. And then the next step, after drilling the hole, is the next step after drilling the hole is to place this rebar or reinforcement. So once the reinforcement is placed, then concrete is placed, and that's how the foundation is done. We call it as a cast-in drilled hole piles. So we cast it, by drilling the hole and then placing concrete, with reinforcement in there. The second picture you see, this is another kind of, equipment that's used for drilling. And then once the foundation is done, the foundation would have these anchor bolts, what you see here on the third picture here, and these are the bolts. So once the foundation is ready, by the way, all this work, drilling a hole and placing concrete at one location takes one night. So it's a very quick operation. So in one night, they can drill a hole and place concrete. Like I said, once this is done, the bolts will be in the concrete, encased in concrete, and then the poles. These are the steel poles. Those would be attached to the foundation. So once the foundation, when the poles are attached to the foundation, so the first thing would be they would place all the foundations, and then they would come back and then place the steel poles or attach the steel poles to the foundation. So once they have all the poles in place, so they would be hanging these wires. So these wires have to be transferred from one side to the other. These are existing wires, so they need to transfer it to the new poles that will be placed on the east side of the Capital Expressway. So once this is done, this is one of the biggest obstacles we have for the project, physical obstacle right there. So once this is done, it clears the area for us to build the project. But again, like I said, the half of the project area is this one. The other half is all the underground utilities, which is close to Story and Capital area, and also somewhat Tully. So what's the schedule? When are we getting this work done? Like I mentioned before, the gas relocation is happening. In fact, we just finished all the work that's happening in the city, city limits. The next focus would be to get the work done near Story and Capital. The San Jose water line relocation is planned for August. In the next couple of months, they're ready to start work. And the transmission line relocation is planned for September. So you may have heard me say in the very first few slides, we're waiting for some right-of-way parcels to be ready for PG&E to move in and start work on the transmission relocation. And then the last one is the communication companies. Some of them are sharing trench with PG&E called the joint trench. There are some work independently they have to do, and that is expected to start sometime in October of 2021. So with that, I'm going to pause for any questions you have. I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you.
I don't see any hands raised, but oh, there he goes. I'm going to unmute Ernesto because I believe he might have been trying to ask a question. So Ernesto, if you can accept my unmute, I believe, because we heard your dog barking, so we had to mute you. Sorry about that, but we needed to be able to hear Ben talking.
Now you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you
Yes.
now. So we wanted to, I wasn't sure if you were not, I don't know if you're on your phone and you weren't sure how to raise your hand.
No, I try. I have one problem the other day in the other meeting. Now, okay, now you can hear me. Okay.
I can hear you.
All right. Now, I have questions. I ask you questions. Go ahead.
Go for it. No, you don't have a question?
Yeah, I don't have questions. I just want to be sure you guys hear me.
Okay. Well, we're going to mute you in case your dogs bark. Okay. Or so wait, we'll leave you. But if the dogs start barking, we'll have to mute you again, okay? So we can hear. Okay. Thanks.
No, I'm sorry. That's not my dogs. I know it's next door neighbors. I have problems.
Oh, it was the next door neighbors? Okay. Well, I thought Ben got a dog and I was laughing. That's why I started laughing.
No.
I didn't know Ben had a dog.
I have this problem for months, years already, and I can't handle. I don't know. Yeah.
No,
You
I
have
don't have
4
a dog.
dogs like that.
All righty.
Just for the record, I don't have a dog, so.
Okay. Well, originally I thought it was Ken. I was giving Ken a hard time. I'm like, Ken, your dog, come on.
No, it's, yeah.
All right.
And my windows are closed and I still can hear that.
All right. Well, I have a question, Ken, Ben, for you. Just curious, but when they are doing the polls and they're working at night and they're doing that cast in place, how noisy is that?
It is, it's not that noisy. The good thing is, Kathleen, all this work is happening around the commercial areas. You know, few poles are going right next to the creek there. And then, you know, there is a Tully and Capitol, you know, intersection where we have this Bischoff, the motor, you know, Bischoff business, and then the car business, right? And then we have the In-N-Out Burger, you know, all those business there, the Chipotle, those businesses. And then after that is the water park, right? So, so we really are not going to be affecting any of the residences in that area.
There's construction going on near me at night, and I have no idea what it is, but I'm hearing it at 11 o'clock at night, and I for the life of me, I can't figure out what the activity is.
Yeah.
I think
they didn't notice me.
I actually think the utility work is going to be a good indicator for a lot of the night work we're going to have for the structure. That I think maybe the more appropriate utility locations are going to be the trenching that we have, the trenching, the trucking for that, the backfilling, the paving at night. That's going to be similar type of construction noise that we'll have for the structure when we're talking about nighttime deliveries and detours and that kind of thing. And so I think that's going to be a really good indicator for us. So I'm hoping that this group can help us gain some feedback from the community about this nighttime noise, because that is the traffic mitigation measure right now, is to do the work at night that would have significant traffic impacts.
Right.
And that, you know, the consequence is if we don't do this work at night, then the result is traffic impact. So I think the utility work is going to be a really good indicator for us about the balance of, you know, accepting nighttime work in exchange for, you know, not impacting traffic.
Thank you.
I guess the question I might have for the group is were these, did this resonate as far as utility relocation with you? Because part of the struggle we've had is that when we talk about utility relocation on a 2.5 mile or 1 mile and a half, 2 mile segment, you know, it's really utility work in pods for the underground work. It's not really everywhere. And then it's, you know, electrical transmission that is all about towers. And so we want to find ways to share with the community at large. Did any of these slides, do you think they work for that kind of thing? And what is your feedback? Does this help you understand it better? Or is it just more common sense? Because your feedback would really help us and how all of us collectively communicate with the community at large.
Feel free to speak up, and welcome, Jessica. I saw you pop in a while ago.
Yeah, I mean, I think the you know, messaging it as you know that they are essentially relocation in pods, not widespread. And having I typically like the overhead slides with the overhead views and the locations. That's always been really great. You know, it has the whole kind of corridor from Eastridge up to Alum Rock. Visuals are always good.
Thank you, Jeremy. It's helpful. It's helpful for us to know what works, what doesn't work. Should we zoom in? Should we zoom out?
you know, one of the advantages of the nighttime work, and I don't know how this will play itself out now, but you know, a lot of the work that we're doing is near, or some of the work is near businesses. So like all the work at Story, for example, or at Capital, and also the transmission towers. And so, you know, part of our work is going to include outreach to the businesses. And so I think the utility work would be a really good thing for all of us to stay engaged in, so that we could, you know, kind of gain some experience as we get close to the light rail construction proper.
See.
So Kathleen, it's back to you, David.
Well, no, we don't, unless somebody wants us to bring a slide back up.
Okay.
If there's any other questions, anybody, how about from our audience? If anyone has any comments or questions they'd like to ask? Just
I
need to-
have, Catherine,
Ernesto, yeah, go ahead.
about the, I mean, I know most, you said right there by Story between, I mean, Capital between Story and Ocala, there's going to be most of that job is going to be in the night, right? What happened if all those neighbors is going to have complaints? Where they can complain, or is a number we can get it or something?
Yeah,
Because
so
I know I know it's pretty hard right there because this house is both sides.
yeah, so what will happen is initially PG&E is going to notify the residents. And I'm going to share that notification as well. So so you'll have two options. You can notify PG&E or you can call me. And
Oh, okay.
so we'll put out two notifications, and they're going to put their notices will go out 300 feet. So of where they're working. So that's probably going to hit, I'd have to measure it on the map, but, and actually, could you either Ven or David, if you could pull up, maybe Ven, okay, whoever has, Ven can have, or, oh, I can't talk.
David has it, yeah.
David's got it. If you could pull up the slide that shows, go back, go to the one that showed the overhead or the transmission line map, that one.
Right here. Yeah.
Where's Ocala? It's actually way over there. Okay. So actually, Ernesto, go to the right, to the purple line.
Yeah.
Right there.
So yeah.
Yeah. So
okay.
you see that's where the transmission line starts.
Okay. So it's going to be in the left. There's going to be nothing, right?
Not so much. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
Okay.
just a little, yeah. So you see, it shouldn't be too bad. It looks like the houses, if you go back to the beginning of that line, David. Go back to the beginning of the purple line, David. This is the problem when you can't control. You have to like direct. Okay. And just the houses right up above, they might get noticed if that's within 300 feet.
Okay.
And so my notification will have, I'll notify everybody. So if they hear things, if it's a problem, they'll have the PG&E notification as well as mine. And if that is an issue, I'll notify their customer service as well. And we'll figure something out. But it would only be, like Ven was saying, when they do that cast in place, it's all done in one time. It won't be like when we do ours, when we get to our work and it's a few days at each location, the PG&E work will be a lot faster.
Yeah, I don't see it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, David. Going once, going twice. I told you we might end up. Oh, Julie.
Hello.
Hi, I see you. I got it.
So I live right a half a block off of Highwood and Capitol Avenue, where PG&E already finished the work, and it was really non-evasive. Only one day I had to go the long way to get to my neighborhood.
Okay.
So it was quick, painless, and easy for my neighborhood.
And how did the notification go?
Fine. We got a notice probably a month ahead, and I think they sent another notice, PG&E, like within a week, and then they put out like a street sign saying that, you know, they were coming also.
Yeah, I thought it went really well. I met with their team, and I felt I've worked with them before on another project, and I thought PG&E did well with their notification. So I'm feeling confident. It's a different team. It's a different customer service team for the transmission. I haven't met them yet. We will meet, but I felt confident with how they were doing it, and we coordinated everything. Because their permit just said, like, you know, they only had to notify, you know, up to 3 days in advance. So I was worried, but I knew they had already done one notification. They were going to do another one. So it felt really good. I wasn't hearing complaints from the neighborhood. I didn't hear from you guys. So,
well, also some of my neighbors didn't even read the notification because it looked like one of the letters they send telling you how efficient your home is with energy.
Every month,
so,
yeah.
Yeah, so it looked a lot like that from the outside. So I think my neighbor across the street, she didn't know anything about it, but they did everything in the morning and during the day. So nothing was in the evening.
Thank you for that feedback. Thank you, Julie. All right. I don't think I have any more questions. How about anyone else from the project team? Anyone else from the stakeholder working group? The audience is dropping off. Okay. Well, this makes up for the February and November meetings where we overstayed it, you guys. I think we'll go ahead and call it. I'll get this up on YouTube and linked to the stakeholder working group accordion. I'm done for the week. Taking my summer vacation in a couple of weeks. Oh, we've got an attendee with a hand up. There we go. Blair, I have just unmuted you. You can go ahead and ask your question or comment.
Yeah, I wanted to make a quick comment. Blair Beekman here. I just wanted to thank you very, very much for having this meeting, and just the fact that we're going forward with our good community practices, and it was a nice informational meeting for myself. The East Side project here has been it's hit kind of the doldrums in the past few months, and it was just really nice to be here tonight. It was nice to hear Jeremy Bruce talking. Just to hear his voice is always hopeful and positive for myself, and good luck on how we can work forward with this project. It's my hope, you know, in the past few months, I've been considering that maybe we can start to consider learning how to center projects, transit lines around the future of the light rail again, and to just think of the positiveness of the fact that the light rail is a green sustainability line using electricity. You know, there is positive elements to the light rail that I hope we can consider and review, and try to bring it back into a more of a centered focus of our lives, I think, as we used to. Good luck how we do that. And just thanks a lot for the meeting and all the work we'll be doing on this issue. Thanks.
Thank you, Blair. Okay, well, guys, I want to thank you guys again, especially our stakeholder working group. Appreciate the flexibility again of scheduling. I know we have this on our quarterly system. We'll get back on the quarterly in August. And that'll also be our 1 year, our anniversary. It went fast. So, well, that's it, guys. I guess if there's no more questions, I'll see you in August. And you know how to reach me.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you,
everyone.
Kathleen.
Bye,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thanks,
Have a good night,
everyone.
everybody.
All
Bye-bye.
right, good night.